To do math, you create simple formulas using an equal sign and a math operator, a plus or a minus sign, an asterisk or forward slash. Here I'll show you what I mean. I'll click in cell A1 and I'll add two numbers, 89 and 23. So equal sign 89 plus sign 23. And I'll press enter to get my result, which is 112. By the way, if you ever wonder if there's a formula behind a number in Excel, just click in the cell with the number, and I'll move my cursor up above the spreadsheet to an area called the formula bar, and there's the formula that I just typed. Now I'll click in cell A2 and I'll subtract those same numbers, equal 89 minus sign 23, and press enter, and the result is 66. I'll multiply equals 89 asterisk for times 23, and the result is 2047. And finally I'll divide equals 89 forward slash 23, and the result, as you can see, has quite a few numbers after the decimal point. You can adjust that if you want to. I'll just click in that cell, and then I'll move my cursor up to the ribbon to where it says number. Then these two buttons, the first one increases the amount of numbers after a decimal point, and this button, which I'll use, decreases the numbers after a decimal point. So if you'll keep your eye on cell A4, I'll click the button once, and now we have one less number. I'll click again, and again, and again, and I'll leave it at 3.87. Next, I'll show you how to add these numbers up. To get the total of these numbers, I'll click in cell A5, or try to. Okay, A5. Now, obviously, I created the formulas to get these numbers, but to get the total, I'm going to let Excel create the formula for me. I'll move my insertion point up to the ribbon to where it says Editing. Then I'll move up to this button called the Auto Sum or the Sum button, and I'll click the button. Now I'll move back to the spreadsheet to explain what you see here. This is a marquee around all the numbers that are being added up. Sometimes we call those dancing ants. And then to see this a little more clearly, I'll move the cursor up to the formula bar, and we've got the equal sign as before, but this time there's a function which is kind of a preset formula called sum, which added the numbers up for me, or will add them when I get the total. Then these parentheses are around the cell references A1 through A4, which is also called the argument for the formula. And I'll press enter to get this total, and here it is, 2228.87. Next, I'll show you some of the other things you can do with the auto sum button. And I've got some numbers already here for total sales for West and East in columns A and column B. This time I'd like to, instead of getting a sum, I'd like to get the average of the numbers in this column. So I'll move my cursor back up to where it says Editing, and this time when I point to the auto sum button, instead of clicking the button, I'll click the arrow next to it. As you can see, it says sum, but it also says average, count numbers, and maximum and minimum. Since I want average, I'll click that, and going back to the spreadsheet, here's my formula, but this time the formula has the function called average in it, and I'll press enter, and there's the result. The average of these numbers is 1496. Now I'd also like the average in column B, and I could just take the same steps that I just did, but instead I'll show you another way to get a formula, which is to copy one that already exists. So we know we've got a formula here. I'm going to move the cursor to the bottom right of the cell until the cursor becomes this black plus sign. I'll depress the left mouse button, and then I'll just drag to the right. I'll release the mouse button. There I've got my average 3412. Now I'm going to show you what happened by looking up in the formula bar above the spreadsheet. As before, we've got the equal sign and the average function, but this time Excel automatically changed the formula argument. Instead of A2, we've got B2. Instead of A10, we've got B10. I think that's pretty cool. And I'll show you one last thing about math, is that up till now I've been doing formulas at the bottom of the columns, but you can also do a formula to the side. So I'll click here and say that I want the average of these two numbers. So I'll just go back up to the auto sum button, click the arrow, and press average. This time the marquee goes across the row instead of down the column. And here's my formula, and I'll press enter, and my average is 4362.